Now. Do it now. Hey guys, this is the Helping Friendly podcast. We're here. We're ready. We're organized. We have a mailbag episode. That's Brian. Megan's here. Hi, Megan.
Hey guys, excited for a mailbag episode.
Unfortunately, we got 0 voicemails about the Providence Bowie, but we're gonna do what we can with what we have. All right.
One day someone will listen to it and be like, do you guys like this jam or not? And RJ will just be able to talk and Megan and I will go on mute and it will be so much fun.
Let's do it. I'm ready. I'll bring my fish maps up here. Shout out to Mike Hammond. Fish maps, those are really cool. Okay. Brian, next week we have another Rushmore, right? We have Iculus next week.
Iculus next week, yeah. Iculus next week. That is our first collaborative Mount Rushmore episode. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Whenever you guys are ready to start sending me versions that you think should be considered for Rushmore, please don't hesitate. Don't hold out on me, guys.
RJ and I like to start after we do the episode before. I'll start tomorrow.
This is going to be the hardest part of this transition for me. You're
going to have to wait for
you
us.
guys. It's going to be. This is like a group project where you get ahead and then you're you guys are just like, please.
I almost sent you my list without listening to any of them, just because just from looking at the list, and then I had a lot of restraint. I decided not to do that. So
good job showing restraint.
Mm-hmm. I would like to see what your list looks like without listening, because I'm sure I don't want to give it too much away here, but when I finished my list, and to be clear, the way we're doing this now, the way we used to do this, we were all coming up with our top 4. The person who came up with theirs, whose week it was, they would present, and then we would offer contrasting or agreeing opinions. We're all going to work on that behind the scenes now. And so I'm not actually just like eliminating down to 4. I have like 5 or 6 maybe at this point in time. And I figure through the process, we'll collectively whittle it down to 4. But I bet your list looks very similar to mine, because this is one of the least revealing Rushmores. You just know what the great ones are.
Mm-hmm.
They really just like jump up and bite you in the ass.
Yeah, you can send it, RJ, whenever you want.
Okay. I
do all my listening first, but that's just
my main problem with it is that I can't remember with a few of them if it's like the Iculus is the most memorable part of it, because it's always like a set that has a bunch of stuff going on, so there's a couple where I'm like, did the amazing stuff happen during Iculus, or did it happen
right?
That's a good point. There are a couple sneaky ones there that I won't name names right now, but someone tried to convince me to take one of them because they were at the show and they thought the stuff around it was really intriguing. And I listened back and I was like, no, you can't do this. There has to be important stuff in the Iculus.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to do that next week. I just want you guys to know, all of you who send in voicemails and messages for the mailbag, you've inspired Brian to create lists and other content. So you did a great job, because Brian is already, using it as a jumping off point for new projects and new lists and maybe a new podcast or 2. So we'll see what Brian.
We could do one out of one of these, so that's not a bad call, RJ.
Oh my God.
All right, let's start. We're going to start with something slightly more recent. We're going to hear a couple like different views on Hampton, and then we're going to talk about that, because we just talked about Hampton, and I want you guys to hear. Let's just listen to them back to back, and then we'll talk about them. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, here we go.
Hey, y'all. This is Alex from Asheville calling. Just want to say first, thanks for everything y'all do for the family and the community. It's always great to hear. Just finished listening to your Hampton recap. I was there at Hampton. I was stoked to be at Hampton. I was stoked I went to Hampton. And it was just a good time. But I wanted to talk about y'all's commentary on the departure from the Bliss Peak jamming as of late. I found that to be the highlight of the weekend. I personally was finding the Bliss Peak jamming to become quite redundant over the last couple tours. And so it was a breath of fresh air to not see them always pivot to the major mode, big crescendo of recent. So good complex jams, great vibes, awesomely long lines. and great time with friends. All right, thank you so much. Bye bye.
All right, thanks for calling in. Okay, let's listen to the second one here, and then we'll have a quick chat.
Hello, RJ, Megan, my two favorite podcasters. Hello, Brian. This is Tony, everyone's favorite fanner. I'm just calling about Hampton. I think, first things first, please understand. I mean, all shows can't be great. I mean, we're talking about my second favorite band here. So, I mean, I paid money to stream it. I paid a lot of money to go see shows during the year. So, I mean, I love Fish, but I don't know. I was kind of disappointed, I think, in the overall weekend run, probably because expectations. Expectations were so high for this weekend. And I think that's the problem. And, looking back, I think they were pretty pedestrian shows. It was good. It was Fish. We all love Fish. But I don't think anything to write home about. I also was at SPAC for all 3 days, so maybe I'm coming off impossible comparison. But with that said, though, I do want to give props to Chris Carota and Live Fish. I live streamed the Sunday show, and I've live streamed plenty of shows before, but I was just blown away last night by the production value of the shows that they're putting on. And BK5 is absurd. Just very impressed with that whole scene, the combination of him and then the stream, knowing when to show what and how. Sorry for the long message. Last thing I'll say is what's going through your mind into Sense. I had an experience watching that. I was in my backyard in the dark by myself. I know that sounds weird, but I was in my hot tub and I had a moment. So that was really special. The Sense Jam was just glorious. Right around halfway when it gets quiet, I thought they were ready to bring in a new song, a ballad, and instead they went into that second piece of that jam, and it was magic. It really was. I think that's it. Those are my notes.
All right, so we got Brian. Why don't you start first of all on that, just on the kind of Hampton takes? What are your reactions to those two calls?
I mean, I think I fall kind of somewhere between the two in that it's hard to argue with the first caller who had a great time. Like everyone who argued about or complained about the lines, the food, that seems pronounced, but it seemed like he had a solid time there. The second caller, curious amount of shade in the intro towards me. You guys are first two favorite podcasters, and I'm just this guy. We'll see. Maybe I said something that upset him in past years, but I don't know if I would say it was pedestrian. I think we got into this. Like, I've been listening to a lot of the jams again, and they're very good. I think that the set lists are solid, but not crazy to the level of what we've seen at the band at their best. I think the biggest thing that Hampton was missing was one of those 45 to 60 minute pieces of sustained. I guess we got almost 40 minutes out of the Mind and Sense, so someone's going to come and yell at me. Those 60 plus minute segments that we have been getting in the best shows and the best runs for Fish over the last 2 years seem to be a defining anchor of a really good second set, which elevates a solid, if not very good first set, which then kind of anchors the run around that level of music, and everything else is raised around there. I think if you got that more pronounced on Saturday rather than a party show, or if they had opted for a different opener than a pretty contained Mike's Groove, you just have a different conversation there. I don't know. I don't think it was pedestrian, but I think it is hard. Like the caller mentioned, like it's hard to compare to when you just saw SPAC Night 3. Like I was just thinking after I saw Dick's 2012, it literally took me until Magna Ball to be like, okay, I've seen just as good a fish a second time. You know, like you see those just top tier runs, and to do them any justice and any respect, you kind of have to hold on to how good that was until you see something that you just know before your eyes surpasses it. I'll throw it to you guys because I also am curious your guys' thoughts on, are expectations actually impacting the way these runs go? But I'll let you guys share your thoughts.
Yeah, I think definitely expectations play a part in it. I think this has been a really great year of Fish. So anytime Fish is playing this strongly in general, you expect a run like Hampton, which we talked a lot about during the episode, a nostalgic place for the band and for the fans, to be on another level. And I think those are pretty high expectations. But I do really agree with the caller who was talking about that the highlight of the weekend was this continued evolution in the jamming style. And I couldn't agree more. I think finding that really patient space and that absolutely those beautiful moments that they found, particularly in The Sense, which in my mind is one of the best jams of the year. And so if they're going to play one of the best jams of the year at this run, in my mind, it can't be Pedestrian. But I think I was really reflecting on the fact that the evolution this band has shown in this year, when they don't really need to be evolving, to me, that's just, something we discovered during 40 for 40 and maybe always knew, but it really became so clear. And also during our Top Tours series. And this is what I want the next Fish article to be about. Someone write about this, that this band is just constantly pushing towards evolution and focusing on that, even when they don't have to be. And I thought it was pretty thrilling that the band is coming in, this coda to their summer tour and still trying new things and finding new places in their jams. So that to me is where I always want them to be, even if, the run maybe wasn't as anywhere near what SPAC was. But I think you're right, Brian. I think that's just such a high bar. And I think there was a lot to take out of Hampton in terms of like how they were jamming.
I think that's just, like we talked about last week, I think it's just that the jams weren't quite as propulsive, and I think that for some people that kind of like takes away from it or can, but I do agree that like some of those moments were really, really unique, which is as important,
Exactly.
it feels like, without the kind of thrilling, huge peaks, maybe, it seems less exciting, but maybe it's more exciting because they're so different.
To me,
well, I
is.
think the only counter I would make to that is, I guess you get a lot of peaks on the third night of SPAC just because it's that like very special party plus jamming plus holy shit are they doing this kind of show. Those are extremely rare breeds. But just thinking about the Disease and the Chalk Dust, those aren't so much heavy peaking jams as they are like that deep, really just like violent exploratory jamming. And you didn't get that at SPAC or at Hampton,
That's
so like
true.
I think to your point, RJ, you kind of got these jams they're really nice. Like the end of Sense is really gorgeous, and I have that Mind Sense segment rated pretty high on my overall list. The Tweezer has some really cool stuff going on, but none of them can you pick out like 5 minutes and be like, this is the most incredible music I've heard the band play since X. And you got that for sure on SPAC night 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think if you're thinking about like the Disease or the Chalk Dust, some of those moments from SPAC were so epic. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, let's listen to something. Let's listen to a little Alpharetta voicemail here. We'll just keep going through a couple summer tour items before we get onto the more existential stuff. Which don't worry, that it's coming. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I'll just play this quick voicemail, which I never played in our last mailbag episode. I just wanted us to know that we're invited to visit Texas. So I'm just going to play this, and then we can start giving ourselves, permission to do that.
Hey, HF Pod, sorry, got too excited about the venue to just give you my send off and to absolutely welcome you all to come to Austin and join us for some shows sometime and to see this amazing venue. And thank you so much for all you do, all of the hard work you put in. We all super appreciate it. Hope you have fun in Colorado and hope to see some of you there. Bye-bye.
Okay, so we know we didn't have fun in Colorado, but otherwise.
It's so nice. Thank you.
It is really nice. It'd be great to go.
Can I just say really quick?
Yeah, please.
I went to Austin for the 2018 show. And Austin is a really amazing city that if we ever wanted to do an HF pod destination around a show that
That'd be so fun.
more than likely, well, I guess, I don't know, one of my favorite jams of the year was in Austin this last year, that Golden Age. Oh my God. Maybe if they do it again, we should do a HF pod road trip, fly trip for you guys. I'll drive there. I'll drive down the route that Gus and Carl took in Lonesome
God.
Dove.
That's awesome. I want to do that.
But it's a
That's
great
so
city
cute.
with awesome barbecue, awesome tacos with barbecue in them. Great saloons and great bars. Awesome joint. And the venue is actually really cool. You bake like crazy there, but it's a cool spot.
I've only been to Austin once, and I had a really sad experience there because I got food poisoning.
Mm.
And that
Did you
sucked.
really?
It's the only time I've ever had it my whole life. Yeah, I was there for my friend's bachelorette party, and I got it the Friday night we were there, and then I was sick the whole weekend. It sucked. It was so sad.
That's really not
That's
cool.
fun.
I know. It was a bummer.
All right. Well, let's not have that happen again. Okay. Do you guys want to get in some more summer tour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was waiting
Or
for you just to
Alpharetta?
make sure. Yeah.
Alpharetta?
Yeah.
Fall tour?
Depends how you look at it. You know, it's like 85 degrees here today. I'm just so tired.
I know
of this.
it is pretty warm.
It's really annoying. I was like, actually, I go for a walk every day during my lunch period, and I was like, actively angry because I'm like, why is it so hot? It's the
Yeah, still.
actual end of September. I mean, I know why,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
it's annoying. Like, where are the fall vibes? Why don't we have fall vibes, guys? I need fall vibes. Okay, let's listen to this fall tour vibes from Alpharetta. Here we go.
Hey, is this working? Hey, so I'm leaving a voicemail because you guys said to leave voicemails for the Mailbag show, and Alpharetta was my first two fish shows. So I was really excited, to hear about them. I just listened to the episode y'all did about them, and you guys didn't talk about night one at all, which that's fine. Night one was fucking amazing. It was my first fish show. They played Peaches, which I feel like it's because it was in Georgia and Georgia Peaches, and it was just so sick. The Fuego and the lead was fucking it melted my fucking brain, and somebody leaned over to me and whispered this is a sad song during leads, and I don't really I'm new into fish, so I'm not super familiar with leads. This is my first fish show, so that was really cool. And it was leads was kind of fun. Anyways, the whole set was sick, and the last song during the second set, I know it was controversial with people because it was a Love and Light song, but in the room everybody was singing it. It was so fucking exciting. And then night two was just amazing. I mean, screaming Wilson and the audience and everybody, it felt like Trey was really enunciating the verses on Wilson in a cool way. And the fucking Divided Sky, I don't know if y'all ever been to Alpharetta, but he played Divided Sky, it was they timed it out for the sunset, which I guess they do that probably a lot. But in Alpharetta, it was fucking gorgeous because there's all these trees and you're just looking at this beautiful forest vibe. And then the sun is going down and the pause is hilarious. And I get this vibe in Georgia because it feels like we're kind of impatient in Georgia. So during the pause, it kind of felt like everybody was screaming at Trey to go ahead and play the next note. It was just hilarious. It was sick. Anyways, thanks. I love y'all's show. I don't want to keep you too long on this voicemail. So I hope that you really liked listening to me, talk about these first two shows. They were really, really good. It was so cool hearing Tube. What else? Oh, the meat stick. The meat stick was that was the longest meat stick since 1999. Somebody was saying. Also, these shows were both fucking incredibly long, and so was the the first Hampton show. I mean, they were all I think the second, they're pushing 3.5 hours on some of these shows. Which are some of the longest, I think, standard fish shows, in a long time, or just they're sort of up there with like, I mean, as far as I know, as far as I looked at the list, that.
So our friend, thank you for calling, first of all. Also really cool that you got to see your first fish shows. I love it.
That's a moment. It's a moment to remember.
It's a moment.
Yeah, it's a huge moment. So night one, we did not talk about night one really at all. Why do you think that, RJ?
Why didn't we talk about night one?
Yeah, what are your thoughts on why we didn't discuss night one?
I don't know. I mean, I guess when I went back through those shows, I mean, I listened to like 5 in a row in preparation, so maybe that's why. But I had notes on like some of those. Like, I think the parts that he pointed out were good. It's also cool to see Oblivion jammed, but maybe because there wasn't something like noteworthy in the first set. I guess was like the first thing. Like we've seen in these other shows, we saw these big 20 plus minute jams in the first set, or at least like a long ether edge or something. So it felt like maybe that's why, but I don't know. Also, didn't you love the Howling?
I actually did love this version of the Howling, except I did not love when it was dropped. I was happy with the results. I kind of feel looking at this. So I'd be curious your thoughts on how this was for you. My first show was 22003, which is like a very grad level fish show. And I remember I was going in with a ton of expectations and anticipation based on 2 years of listening. And I don't think it was the right like first show for something. Kind of is fitting for me, but like I think for your first show, having those like moments that you can call back to a Buried Alive ACDC bag opener, a Peaches, a really cool fun tube, a Reba, like these like old school fun various dynamics within a fish show. And so I think like for this caller, totally understand his level of being amped for seeing this as his first show. I think where I'm at as a listener when I'm listening to these tours and I'm going through preparing for the podcast, this is kind of one of those shows where it feels like let's just throw a bunch of ideas at the wall and see if anything sticks. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world because you will eventually get a show like you got the next night, which that second set really, really hit me, really hit hard. From a listening standpoint, at home, I imagine that second set hit hard in the venue, and it all holds up really nicely on tape. So that would be my take on like the kind of differences between those two shows. I don't know if you feel similar or different.
Yeah. I mean, I think those. Yeah. I mean, you look at so first of all, we have this like embarrassment of riches, I think, and maybe it's our fault for doing five shows at a time in terms of a recap. But when you have like from the second night, you have a 27-minute Carini to open the second set, which is that in the light, and then back into the Carini. That's like an hour of music, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know I'm not sure like what we just don't have enough time. So I don't know. I'm not sure what to do about this, but I'm glad that this person had an excellent time. And I don't know, 2-night runs like are always, not always, but often gonna hit like this. You know what I mean?
This is kind of like The Man. You saw a really outstanding first night, huge jam in that sand. And then the second night was a little bit of a mess. Like you kind of get this. It's very hard trying to think of like, is there anything this summer I mean, I guess Forest Hills, definitely to a degree.
Well, you talked about loving Manchester. Were those
3 nights? I'm just thinking of like the 2-night runs. Yeah, just like because you're right. Like there's there's less time that you have. Than a 3-night run. There's less. There's less time to get into a flow. So like it has to hit from that first set. Otherwise, you're kind of up and down.
Yeah. Megan, do you have thoughts? Alpharetta, night one. Why did we ignore it?
I mean, I think what you said, we had a lot to talk about, but I think there were some really great moments there. And I think it's fun to hear someone's perspective who's never heard any Fish live before. That's just like awesome. But I think the Tube and the Slave were great. I thought the Slave was like, it was short, but it was really pretty and emotional. I think that's a good place to play it if they're not going to do it right and play it big in the second set. And the Peaches
Do it
was
right.
do it right. The Peaches was super loose and sounded pretty unrehearsed. You know, it hadn't been played since Mondegreen, and to me, it sounded a little rough. But the Tube was great, and you know, a 10-minute Bowie. I mean, woof. But the Fuego has that huge dramatic crescendo, cool spacey outro. It's got some good stuff, and the Howling, you know, whatever. But it is probably the best version since Dix 23. It
Yeah,
has like a big
without
peak
question.
on it. So, you know, if you're going to get it, you know, but that's
Yeah.
like, it just makes me happy to know that there's somebody in the audience who is just having a great time, and leave it to us nerds to pick it apart. But I mean, second show ever, and you're seeing Alpharetta Night 2, like that second set is absolutely perfect Fish, just absolute the best. So one of the best sets of the year.
I mean,
There's a
I think
caller. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Brian.
I was just gonna say, like, there's a caller we're gonna hear from before the episode's over, who discovered us and discovered Fish like 2 years ago. And I think, to your point, Meg, like there's something to be said about a band that is 42 years into their career that is still bringing on new fans, and for us as a podcast, like, be bringing on new listeners who are like tapping into all that has been done before Meg and I joined and since we joined, and all the work that we've done to like break down the history of this band. Like that's a really cool thing for Fish, and that's a really cool thing, I think, for all of us.
I just
New
want to say,
fans. It's awesome.
this is I'm not a new fan of Goose. I think I saw my first show in 2019, but this is literally my experience every time I go see Goose. I'm just
Same.
like, yes, this is awesome. You guys sang that song. I love that song. I love that the next song too. Like, I had so much fun, and like I don't even care. It's so great.
I hadn't followed Goose Tour because of Fish and listening responsibilities, and I webcasted Friday's show with my buddy, and two funny things happened. One, I just kept texting our buddy Ryan Storm how it was like the best show because I had a gummy. It was a Friday night. I was just chilling out, listening to Goose. It was not a very remarkable show, but I had a great time. I was like, hell yeah, 17-minute Your Direction, midway through the first set. Let's go. But then my buddy goes, does RJ like Goose? And I was like, yes, RJ is the reason everybody likes Goose.
I'll take it. I'll take responsibility for it. That's a good line. I'm gonna record that. Keep it for when I need it. Okay, guys. I guess let's do. Brian, do you want to hear some in-depth commentary on the Piper from Birmingham?
Yeah. Well, yeah. The what's going through your mind? Yes.
Oh yeah. What? Yeah. Okay, let's listen to that, and then maybe we'll take a break, and then we have some heavy hitters to get to here. This is so fun. This is great. It's also like, we just get to sit here and listen to people talk. It's pretty chill.
You usually praise us a little bit, it's fun.
Yeah. Say something nice. Okay, here we go.
Hey guys, unknown caller calling in, and I'm speaking through a few Captain and Cokes, but one thing I wanted to talk about from this most recent leg of the tour, I think Bama Night 2, you guys, and I agree, I was at the Bama run. You guys loved the first night. I thought it was the best. I think it was probably a top 5 show of the year from top to bottom when you count first set, second set, just the flow, the amount of awesome jams. But night 2, I think, got slept on because it was kind of a dance party. But Brian, I'm curious to get your take on this. The what's going through your mind is essentially a 2003-esque Piper jam, like a speed vamp jam where Trey is playing rhythm, but he's doing that kind of speed vamp thing, and then he kind of busts into a really melodic, soaring kind of solo. And man, that jam, I think it's getting slept on, and I think it needs to be talked about. I just want to know what you guys think.
All right, Brian, this is your world that we're talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you mention 2.0, my ears are going to perk up. I liked the what's going through your mind. What did that come out of? That was Bama Night 2. Sorry for not being prepared. There was Wave of Hope and What's Going Through Your Mind. I liked that segment when it happened live. And I kind of put it as like a revisiting. And I went, on that list of I just need to go back and hear this again with fresh ears. And when I heard it the second time this weekend, it clicked completely. What he's talking about, that like dirty effect that Trey has that like leads into the song that he plays the initial chords with, and then he returns to, and that's what ultimately leads into the jam. It kind of made me think about how good the band is right now and this is something that doesn't get mentioned enough with regards to 2.0 is moments where there were slop, and there were moments where there was forgetting lyrics, and there were moments when Trey played the Down with Disease solo at the wrong part of Down with Disease, and that happened. Moments where they attempted to rap girls, 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 that happened. Like there's a lot of embarrassment and negative moments within 2.0. I get it. But when that band locked in, and Piper was a great example of this throughout, especially 2003, the Drowned from SPAC 2004, they just like tore off and could play with such speed and wild abandon and aggression. And you definitely heard that in this What's Going Through Your Mind. And I think it's something that we're starting to get into a sweet spot for it, where like the band knows how to play really dirty, weird, non-linear type of jam spaces where they're just kind of like throwing ideas and bouncing off of each other and playing weird stuff. But then the next idea that they find ends up like going into a huge jam peak. And I think it's very cool to hear that happen with four guys who are all healthy and in a good place in life, because it means that the creativity is what's driving it, not something extracurricular.
Yeah, I really liked that segment. The post-peak jamming out of Wave of Hope, that's when they kind of find that trancey, really groove-based jam, and they pick that right up in the What's Going Through Your Mind jam. It's like they have those repetitive melodies that kind of kick it off, but then they find that trance-like groove, and I love the kind of really interesting space they find at the end of that jam. And there's a quick drop into Mercury, but it's still good. It's a cool moment.
I just want to say that there's some chatter in the chat about the Man on Saturday. Goose is playing at the Man this Saturday. If you're going to be there, come early and come hang out. There'll be a big RV like in the lot right next to the entrance, and that's where I'll be with a bunch of friends. It'll be good. So come hang out with us. Okay, so should we take a quick break before we get into this voicemail labeled "Defending RJ"?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it. And RJ, I'll be in Philly on Saturday too.
I know. I was waiting for you to chime in. Go ahead. Give your plug.
I'll be there.
All right. We'll be back in 1 sec. All right, Brian, I think this voicemail, this 2-part voicemail, made you run for the graph paper and your colored pencils and your protractor, and you started doing all kinds of stuff after this. So do you want to give any previews?
Well, I do want to just address 2 comments in the chat that are late entries into the mailbag, and then we can jump in this very, very quickly. Our dude, my dude, our man, one of our favorite people, Forbin777 asked over 20 minutes ago, so I apologize that it's taken this long for us to get to it. Still wondering how Chicago rates higher than Hampton. Everything Brian just said 20 minutes ago applies even more to Chicago. And then he said that Brian's one of his 3 favorite podcasters. So I knew I had to come back because he's making up for our caller who throws me off to the corner here. I was thinking about this over the weekend, And I was thinking that they're probably closer to the same level in my mind. I think that the one thing that draws me to Chicago over Hampton at this point in time, always open to change in that sort of standpoint, but is that What's Going Through Your Mind from night one is unquestionably one of my favorite jams of the entire year. Night two, I think, works really well in spite of its setlist construction in a way that makes me want to go back and listen to that second set on a semi-regular basis. I love the use of Life Saving Gun as an opener. Night three may be where we start to get into the even territory between the two runs, because re-listening to some of those big jams from night three, they did not hold up on my re-listen, this most recent re-listen, than they did in the past. So maybe more kind of on the same line type of levels than like one above each other. But I just wanted to address that because I've definitely been thinking about that ever since we had our conversation last week, and I ranked all of our 3-night runs. And then Evdude asked, and Evdude, I apologize to disappoint you here, but Evdude asked if I'm going to see Rose City Band and Prairie Wolf in Denver either tonight or tomorrow. And the answer is no. And why is the answer no, guys? Because Brian just doesn't go to see concerts, mostly because I'm traveling this week. And so I'm not going to go see a concert tonight. I won't be in Denver tomorrow night, but I bet everything I've heard is that Rose City Band puts on an amazing show. And I definitely wish I could catch them here, but it just will not happen. Now we can go to the graphs and protractors.
Well, as Tony said in the chat, it's because Hampton wasn't good, and that's why Brian can't go to concerts anymore. It's all cascading. It's all related.
More like Boulder wasn't good.
Boulder, yeah, exactly. Okay, all right, guys. I don't know who labeled this voicemail this way, but let's just listen to this. Okay, here we go. Here's part one.
Two-parter.
Hey guys, this is Tyler calling from Colorado. I know we got a mailbag episode coming up, and I know RJ has not received any sort of feedback from his homework assignment about the Albany 2009 Ghost. So I figured I would weigh in. I was not of the ilk that he was wrong for making that choice. I was not, I did not make myself known in the chat or anything like that about that. I probably would not have put it in my Mount Rushmore. I would have had it probably all of my Mount Rushmores in 1.0. Not that you guys care about mine, but
we do.
Probably would have had 2 from 97, Lakewood and Denver. I would have had
Eat it, guys.
Lemon Will 98, and I would have had Radio City 2000. But
Killer Rushmore.
I do want to set some context that I think, RJ chose that maybe, not just because of the jamming and the actual music itself, but setting the scene for what was going on at that time. And I think you guys did a good job of it. It just come back, Fishman, there was regular rip chords from when they were starting to like get into territory where we were getting excited, and then Trey would rip chord it, or Fishman would just stop his drum beat and not continue on into type 2 land. I mean, there was a lot of that stuff going on. We're late in the year and there hasn't been a ton of big jam highlights. And then they dropped this set, and I just remember the message boards, internet, everybody was going nuts at the time. So I will say that if Mount Rushmore means that these jams not only musically stand out above the rest, but contextually and with what was going on, I don't know that there was a bigger thing that happened in a year of Fish outside of Big Cypress or, some of the, New Year's 95, some of these big benchmark moments, Halloween 96 and the change of the style, stuff like that. There's been benchmark moments, but honestly, that was a very, very big moment. So I just went back and listened to the jam too, because I haven't listened to it in a long time. I was listening, honestly, RJ. I was listening for that '09 whale call stuff. I was listening for Trey doing one note trills and stuff he would do back then. That was just, and I did not hear any of that. The jam is really, really clean.
Okay. You cut off there really, really clear. I just wanted, the only reason I'm playing this is that he kind of described why I chose this better than I did. So here, let's just hear the conclusion.
Okay.
And his
I guess I
description,
ran out of time.
Yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead. Go ahead.
his description of the flaws of the way Trey played in '09 is so spot on. So yeah, keep
Yeah,
going.
exactly. Okay.
Winded. Bear with me. If you want to avoid this altogether, that's totally fine. But I will say, very good jam, top to bottom. Very focused. Very, very. It. I mean, for the time, and I'm remembering fairly well what they were doing back there. It was totally different. It was almost like that waves from the tech rehearsal where it was like, where is this coming from? This is not the band that we've been seeing night in and night out. That's what I remember happening at the Bethel tech rehearsal with that waves. Same thing here. Like this sounded nothing like what we were getting night in and night out. So all that to say, I'll get off of here. Sorry I'm so long-winded. Maybe you want to cut this all together. But if you don't, hear what
Nope.
I say. Take it. RJ's not wrong for his pick. And it's a good jam. And contextually with what was going on, it was a very, very, very important jam. So anyway, that's all I got, guys. Look forward to hearing everyone else's voicemails. Keep up the good work. Peace.
All right. So I just want to say just that was a really great articulation of why I chose it. The part about just like Brian said about Trey's playing, but also how surprising it was and also how the internet reacted and those of us who were there. I think it was like a watershed moment in 3.0. But Brian, I think this sparked some other thoughts for you.
Well, I mean, yeah, it sparked him because I was like, may have a really good point here, and it got me wondering. RJ's like, what? I didn't have a good point. It got me wondering. And I'd be curious your guys' thoughts. Like, what does Mount Rushmore mean to you guys? We're like 6 months into this project. It's an ongoing project. We're already evolving it in some ways. When you think about the lists that we've made thus far and what we have to come, like what does it mean to you when you select those 4 versions?
It's been interesting. That's what this call made me think about too, because so much of what we talked about in 40 for 40 and the top tours, particularly in top tours, was the context. And a huge part of how we ranked those tours was how they influenced the band and their sound and how important they were for their evolution. And we kept trying to think about, if this tour didn't happen, what would have happened next, which was a little bit of an impossible hypothesis, but we kept kind of putting ourselves in that question to kind of test the validity of where we ranked things. And I think that with Rushmore, it is challenging. I think when we first started it, I was really going into it with just trying to listen to the best versions musically and whatever I thought that meant. And then I thought it started to have to really mean the song's evolution and where it started and where it is now. But then I also wanted it to represent the different eras, if a song has been important in different eras, or if a song is really isolated into one era specifically, then it should really be kind of housed there, the Rushmore. So it's made me think a lot about it. And also I've changed the way that I think about Rushmore a little bit. And I am still a little bit on the fence about how much context should play into it and how much it should be less important than just the music purely. What do you two think?
Well, so, okay, first of all, I think that the 12-31-10 Ghost I think that was on the fan Rushmore count. I think as a moment at MSG and early 3.0, it's important, but I think the jam itself is completely forgettable in the grand scheme of Phish improvisation.
If you listen to all those Ghosts, that one does not rise to the top.
Yeah. So, but like maybe if I was at that show, I would feel differently. But so I think there had to be like an early 3.0 Ghost. I think that they're I think that the one from Albany changed like the way that we all saw what fish was still possible, of doing. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to answer the broader question. I feel like maybe like we do our best, but I don't know. It's hard.
Maybe it like depends on the song too. Like,
Yeah.
I think I think that's it, because I'm
Yeah.
looking at our Rushmore list, and like the first one we ever did was Bathtub Gin, and when I
so
put
hard.
that
I love
together,
that we did that one the first.
right? When I did that first, my thought was, first pick I had was Marat Gin, contextually extremely important fish jam, and also I think it sets the foundation for where Bathtub Gin is going to go when it's going to jam within Bathtub Gin as well as without. The Went felt like there's no way I can seriously make a list without this. I don't think the Went Gin really speaks to the evolution of Bathtub Gin. I think it's just one of those, like, that is a clear marker of fish connecting musically for 8-9 minutes of improvisation that almost no other band could do. But I don't think that like shows where, I guess there are those like
Right.
99 2000 versions that are like kind of cosplaying it, but I don't think that those are like a direct a descendant of the Went Gin. Riverport, that to me, if you were going to take Bathtub Gin and distill it into a jam, that's the jam. And so, like, how do you not have that? And then at that point, I remember realizing, like, am I really going to have a list that is all 1.0 Bathtub Gins? Like, Bathtub Gin is a song that has meant a lot to fish beyond 1.0. So I know that there were people that were upset that Rupp wasn't on there. I was sad not to include Amherst 95, 11-19-96. I would have loved to have had on there. 628 2000 I would have loved to have had on there, but I ultimately went with 228 2003, which is still a relatively older version now. There's been some fantastic versions since then, but my rationale there was, this is showing both how this song can evolve beyond the 90s, which it still has done in the next 22 years, but also that this song is going to start to get into a darker and weirder space, and that is going to be something that defines Bathtub Gin going forward. So like, I use that as kind of an example of like, it definitely changes song to song. The next song we did was Harry Hood, and we have versions all between 93 and 97, which I think is probably the right
Which
call,
makes
even
sense.
though I would have selected a 2.0 version had that been mine. But I think when you're looking at like, where is that song at its absolute best, I think that that's it. I think Ghost is interesting because it is so defined by the 97 sound, and then it changes in 98, and then it has this really monumental version from 2000. So you have the ability to keep it all there. But and I think RJ ultimately, by taking as bold of a choice as he did, ultimately did a really like good service for listeners, because I think a lot of people are listening to this version again for the first time in a long time. But also for the series, by basically saying an essential moment in fish history comes out of this, or regardless where you would personally have this ranked on a list of Bathtub Gin or of ghosts, it says enough. It says so much about the band's history and their goals in 09 and early 3.0 that I think it has to be there as a result of that.
Well, and I also think what's crazy about this band is that they have so many historical touch points that, in my mind, I picked the Deer Creek Ghost from, was it 23, 24, 23, 24? And I picked that because Ghost still fucks. And I feel like 4.0 representing that the band still takes huge risks in that side of that song in the 4.0 era was important to me, because that's kind of a historical touch point too. So you really can make a lot of contextual arguments for a lot of your picks, which is why this is a really hard exercise to do.
Always.
It's going to be interesting to see how it changes now that we're all doing it together.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be another evolution. It's gonna be another evolution in our
Oh my God, we're
process.
just like fish.
We're just like fish.
Just like fish. Wow.
We are.
So I have one more thing based off this voicemail. Do you guys have anything that you want to say before I dive into them? Please proceed.
I can't wait. Yeah.
Okay. So this got me thinking. He makes a really great point, our caller, about how big a deal the Albany 7 Below and Ghost was back in November 2009. And he really gets into detail that you can tell he was there and felt the tension we all felt if we were online during that period in time, because there were certain shows where it's just like, fuck, why am I doing this every night? Why am I listening to this band try to figure out who they are again? And there were moments, to be sure. But it got me thinking, because he makes the claim, and I think it's pretty accurate, that this was the biggest moment of 2009. It got me thinking, what are the biggest moments of each year of Phish going back to 1993? So I'm going to go through my list.
God, that's amazing. Wait, from 2009 back?
From 93 to 2025.
Oh, to
What is the
2025.
biggest moment of each year? Now, this is not the best.
Look at Archie's face.
This is what moment, if you think that year and you think about what the band was doing that year, and you think about where they went once you got past that year, like going forward from that year, what moment best describes that? And I think that, to this caller's point, the Albany 7 Below Ghost was that for 2009. Sure, you have Hampton. No more Hampton shade, I promise. The Gorge, I'm a huge proponent of bringing back the Halloween tradition, but it wasn't until the 7 Below Ghost that we were like, okay, that band is still there and that band can still do this. It may not happen overnight. It may take a while, but they are like sending a message that we can still do this. And lo and behold, 4 or 5 years later, that was who they were. All right, so I'm going to go through this. I'm going to try to be as rapid fire as I can. I see we got people sharpening their pencils. Can you guys jump in if you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's not, just so we have some banter here. If you're like, no, this is not at all, jump in, okay?
Okay, as long as this isn't like, the Charleston Tweezer argument.
Which is what?
Which is
That's
that
one of the coolest jams the band has ever played. Unbelievably cool. That's like strutting down the street. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still not tier 1. So I just want you to know that that's me disagreeing with one of your choices. And then you said
jump in like this. Jump in like this.
Okay.
All right. So 1993, the biggest moment of 1993, biggest deal, I would argue, is 12:30 to 12:31. Those two shows in the homeland, both shows are monumental in terms of what that period in a year will be for Phish, and really showcases where the band's going. 1994. Sorry if you can hear the thunder. It is raining like crazy outside. 94, the Bomb Factory Tweezer. A lot of big things happen in 94, but the Bomb Factory Tweezer showcases what Tweezer can really be and what improvisational music is going to mean for the band going forward. 95, 12:31. So many great things happen up until then, but them owning Madison Square Garden on New Year's Eve, playing that show, those versions of those songs, that's just a crowning achievement. 96, Remain in Light. Right on the same page here with our caller. This is what gave me the idea to keep doing this, because I was like, yep, this guy's right on. How do we fill in the other gaps? Remain in Light changes the entire sound of Phish, unlocks something completely going forward. 97, this was hard.
This is a hard one, I feel like. I'm curious.
I would go with 817 set 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is arguably the best set the band has ever played. It is this defining, we are establishing ourselves so far outside of the mainstream that we had to go to the rural northern Maine with all of you in tow, and we are playing a set that is going to have multiple Rushmore versions in the future. They didn't know that was going to be a thing, but it's going to have multiple in the future. And it's going to just really encapsulate not only the sound that we're in right now, but also who we are as a band overall. Any disagreements there? If you say the Lakewood Ghost, I'm leaving the podcast.
I'm not. No, I mean, there's the specter of 12/30/97, which is, one of the best shows they've ever played. Cements the 12:30 tradition. It's an absolute epic show for a million reasons, which we all know. And I think it's like coming back after doing that 12/31/95 at MSG and showing what else they have is, to me, just after reinventing their sound and capping off a year like that. I don't know. It's up there for me, but I get the Went argument. It's a close one for me, though.
RJ, you got any issues? No issues. No issues. He's just sitting there with his Phyllis shirt, just waiting for the playoffs start, waiting for me to get through my list that I'm only 4 years into. All right, I'm going to keep going. 98, Terrapin Station. I think that's the biggest moment of the year. Crowning achievement of them being comfortable enough to play the Dead. This summer of covers, this amazing sound that they had at that point in time. 99, Cypress. I don't think any questions are going to be asked there. 2000, the hiatus. Just the fact that they went on hiatus. That, if you listen to any show in 2000, Rob Mitchum's been going through every 2000 show for his site. Every single show is informed by the fact that this band needs to and is about to take a hiatus. That is like the biggest thing that happens to, in my mind, in that year. 2003, the Nassau Tweezer. You could argue it, you could argue the Tower Jam, but I think the Tweezers, the way that that has lingered in Phish history for 22 years, the way that that show has really hung over as like, well, I don't really like 2.0, but I love 228.03 as like a very like, I can hang with this, you know, even if I don't like the era. It's the default option for everyone. And that Tweezer is really a showcase of how great the band still was at that point in time, how many new sounds they could incorporate, also how weird and crazy they were. Any issues? If you guys take issues with me on 2003, it's going to be problematic.
I don't want to start problems. Keep going.
2004, The Letter. Everybody knows where they were when they first read it. The entire year is defined by this, the sadness around it, the fact that everyone kind of knew it had to happen, but they were like, please say it ain't so. 2009, Seven Below Ghost. No notes there. 2000, yeah, there you go, RJ. You got that. 2010, Utica. That show reinvented what Phish could be in early 3.0. Being online during that show, people were losing their minds. It felt like the band was like reaching into the past and also creating new steps for who they were going forward. It's a monumental thing. 2011, The Storage Jam. Nothing? No? Okay, there we go. Everyone's on board. That's where like the jamming restarts. 2012, Fuck Your Face Show. 2013, a little bit of controversy here. I think RJ is going to agree with me on this one. I think so. You want to take a guess what my pick is for 2013? Just to bring you back into the fold here.
Are you going Hampton?
2013? No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. No.
You don't know? Wingsuit. Everything since then is defined by this. The way that they unloaded and they unveiled all these new songs, it showcases where the band was going forward. I'll make this quick here. 2014, the Merriweather Post Tweezer Fest. 2014 is a weird year where there's not a ton of huge leaps forward.
That was so fun. God, that was amazing.
But that's kind of the vibe of the year, that they could just do that again. You know,
yeah.
It's the peak of Never Miss a Sunday show as well. Just an amazing connection back to their past, but also there were some cool jams in that era in that fest. 2015, Tweezer Caspian. You could say Magnaball, but I think that like the entire vibe of Magnaball is distilled in that moment.
Yeah.
And like the idea that was starting to become more normalized that non-jam songs could be jam vehicles. And that's a huge thing that's going to push the band forward. 2016, another hard year. I went with 1029 set 2 because that is a set that is built around new songs fused with old songs, all segued in and out of each other. That's the first or second expansive Mercury, which we will continue to hear over the latter part of the 2010s. The Vegas run overall is really slept on at this point in time. That's kind of the run where you can start to hear the band figure out what they're going to do on the Baker's Dozen. Speaking of which, 2017 Lawn Boy. This is the big biggest moment of the overall year. Huge year, tons of highlights, tons of craziness. But like the fact that they played a 30-minute Lawn Boy is really the defining factor here. 2018, I would go with 1229. 1230, I think, is the better show, but 1229 is an absolute epic party with a huge tweezer, Death Don't Hurt Very Long tweezer in the second set that kind of signifies to me the confidence that they were playing with at that point in time, that they could kind of just have fun at any point. The 29th, 30th vibe being back to back to close out that year was just a huge moment.
I think that's a tough one because that 30th show is like, it's so sophisticated. It's just so well done. So it's that for me that's like a, I don't know. That's a
30 would be my personal pick if that's my favorite show of the overall year. But I think that the 29th is more like in the zeitgeist of the year in my mind. 2019, Meg, you're gonna be happy with this. The MSG tweezer, maybe the Alpine Ruby Waves, but I think the MSG tweezer showcases like the more melody driven aspect of those big jams.
Better complete show too, I think.
Better complete show overall. 2020, the Sigma Oasis listening party. Obviously a tough year, but the fact that they were still keeping us together, they're putting out new music, a really cool, challenging studio album in some ways. 2021, the Soul Planet. Anything can be jammed. Anything, like, we are going to break records. We are not messing around at this point in time. We are not just here to like slowly evolve. We are here to like absolutely blow your minds. 2022, hard year to figure out. Far be it for me to say the Alpine Dix run, as like the defining feature of the overall year. I would go with the opening Carini from night one at MSG. The intensity in that room, they hadn't played MSG since 2019. They were supposed to play New Year's Eve there. That obviously didn't happen because of Omicron. When you even watch that on the webcast, like the cameras were shaking.
No,
it
that was
so
the
intense.
Sickest shit. Like I still remember that moment, and I was on the floor, and it was absolutely bonkers. Like MSG shakes. Everybody knows that, but like it was levitating in that moment. It was wild.
It's also really sloppy jam, which would be a heavy indicator of where they would go that year. Sorry, didn't mean to give you too much shade, but 2023, the Berkeley Tweezer Simple. I'm just realizing right now how many fucking tweezers are on this list because like tweezer just is the Fish song. 2024, Mondegreen Night 1. I considered the Mexico Chalk Dust, but I think that everything that happens in 2024 peaks on Mondegreen Night 1. For a moment, Mondegreen seemed like it was going to be the most epic festival of all time. I think it's the show of the year. And then 2025, I would go with SPAC Night 3 as kind of a build up to everything they've been working towards, this great revelation that Tweezer Reprise can also be a jam vehicle as well. Anyway, that's my list. Send me your notes. Send me your hate mail. RJ, you want to go through and counter all of those?
Yes, but I'm going to start with 87.
Thank you. I love it.
The first real year of that we have a live record of. No, that was great, Brian. Thank you.
Ian's? Is that your pick, Ian's?
Yeah, and I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that. I appreciate this though.
Yeah, that was awesome.
We should get some feedback. We should get some feedback. I think there's some good feedback here on 2014 and on a couple other years. Send us your thoughts because this is a unexpected and wonderful diversion from our mailbag episode and nothing that we could have ever planned for. So this is just phenomenal.
This is just me sitting there listening to voicemails and just like hanging out my notes out.
I love it.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what? Our last voicemail of the day, I think is gonna get to this place where Brian just got us to, and maybe, hopefully more than just one listener feels this way about HF Pod, but this was a really wonderful thing to hear from a listener, and I think we all really liked it. So let's listen to that, and then we're gonna wrap up. So everyone, just pay attention to this one.
Hello to the Helping Friendly Pod. My name is Alex. I'm a first-time caller and a big fan. I'm a relatively new listener to both the pod and to Fish overall. First got into the band a little over 2 years ago, but very quickly went all in on listening to everything I can and learning everything I could about them and their music. Started listening to the pod earlier this summer, and I've been going through past episodes and really wanted to say how valuable your conversations have been along the way. So much of what you've talked about has not just added to my understanding of it, but also validated so much of what I've gotten out of it so far. Metaphor it makes me think of is like when you go to a museum and see an exhibit by a famous artist, looking at the work on display only gives you so much perspective. But when you take the time to read the plaques next to the art, that's what gives you the history of that piece and what the artist was experiencing while making it. That's what really grows your appreciation of what the artist was expressing and the impact that piece had on their artistic voice. And what you guys do is a lot like reading the plaques in a fish museum, but in a format that's much more fitting to their particular art form. I feel like we grow our appreciation of fish by talking to other fans, hearing their experiences to fully flesh out the story that continues to unfold in amazing ways. It's an incredible time to be a fan right now, and the work you guys do goes a long way in strengthening our strange little community. So keep up the good work, and I'll be listening. Cheers.
That is so meaningful. It just means so much to hear that. It's so exciting to hear about new Fish fans, and also just this is exactly what we do this for, is because we do want to leave an archive for this band and think about it analytically and dig into it and represent what a huge, massive piece of art it is. And it's just really cool because sometimes when you do this work, you don't really know. It feels a little bit like you're doing it into the void, you know, despite like our awesome friends in the chat who make us feel loved every day. But otherwise, it's hard to know if people are really listening. And it's so cool to hear that it's meant so much to someone. And it's just really meaningful. It's awesome. And it really drives me and all of us, I think, to think really deeply about the content we're putting out there. And it really matters to us. So it's awesome that he feels that way too.
Yeah, it's just awesome to get voicemails like that. So thank you so much for contributing that. Brian, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, it's very thoughtful. And I said it earlier. I think the fact that this band, and as a result of it, you know, this podcast are getting new listeners in 2025 is a really cool thing. It just means that music is continuing to impact people in really big ways in the ways that it should. So that's very thoughtful. Thank you.
All right, so keep the voicemails coming. We'll keep playing them when we can. We're going to be back next week talking Iculus. This is, you know, we're back on Rushmore. We got no actual additional fall tour to discuss, so you know, we're just going to keep going with our series, and hopefully it turns into fall soon. But you guys made our week with all these awesome voicemails and all the feedback and the chat too. Thank you guys for being here in the chat and hanging with us. I think that's it, guys. We're going to be back next week with a new Rushmore episode. So thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you, guys.